What's up, everybody? Doing a live broadcast again today. I'm a little worried about potential interference on this live broadcast because I've been following some massive coronal mass ejections that are happening from the sun. The sun is just spitting out magnetic pulses and solar wind. It is just super active. So, global warming, people. You want to see global warming? Look at the sun. It's not man-made. It's all natural. So take your view to the sun and stop this global warming crap. Right now in California it's super hot, but I decided to do a daytime video. I already posted the one that I did for the weekend, but like I said, I would do updates. And since then, some more things came out, and and I forgot to address a few things in the last video, so I decided I'll do it this time. I'm going to title this video, Damned If You Do, Damned If You Don't, because no matter what you do, you're damned. So a lot of the decisions that are going on here, they're not good ones. And I believe it was Mark Twain, who was born on my birthday, November 30th, baby, who made a famous quote that history doesn't necessarily repeat, but it rhymes. And there's a reason why I'm wearing my 1960s John Lennon glasses, because with all the protests and all the things that are going on today, it sure feels like the 60s. But it's starting to become the opposite of the 60s. In the 60s, you had the liberal leftist hippies constantly protesting the supposed warmongering Republicans in everything that they did. But today, you're starting to see, initially it was the leftists protesting in the same way. But like I said in my last video in Minneapolis, the leftists are starting to wake up and protest themselves. And I've done other videos about suicide and the left committing suicide. Many people in the left are starting to realize that their own policies are really screwed up. And they're actually seeing the effects of them in real time. And so the Democrats are turning on the Democrats. And hopefully this is a very good watershed moment for a lot of the leftist supporters to really wake up to the truth that you're not supporting the right stuff. You think you're supporting the right stuff because it sounds good, it sounds noble, and it feels good at first because you might win it, especially when President Obama was in. But when the effects take place, it's 8 years later, you're starting to see the effects taking place. 8 years later, you're starting to realize that there's trouble. And it's even before President Trump can even do anything. And speaking of damned if you do, damned if you don't, President Trump is trying to do all he can to set up our economy for either a restart after our economy collapses, or to try to prevent an economic collapse. But he's getting so much opposition from the leftist Democrats that there's no way that's going to happen. And a lot of Republicans are always questioning, why can he not drain the swamp? It's not easy to drain the swamp. You guys got to really look at it with good perspective. He came into this situation after 8 years of Bill Clinton, who is a leftist globalist, 8 years of George Bush, who is a globalist, supposed Republican, but anyone globalist, they all have the same philosophies. So he had the moniker of Republican, but he was not about the Republic in any way. He was even talking about democracy when he would give speeches. Democracy, that's Democrat speech. And I remember when George Bush was president, he would speak Spanish to the illegal immigrants. They're always catering to the Spanish illegal immigrants, Spanish-speaking peoples. So because they're globalist, and we're starting to see how the economy is getting really devastated by all these illegal immigrants, and people still support it because they're not looking at things accurately. Like I've said in the past, look at your freeways. If 10, 20 years ago it used to take you 15 minutes to get from your house to LA, and now it's taking 2.5 hours to 4 hours to get from your house to LA, you need to think about, why is that? The freeways haven't changed any. It's the population that's changed. How does the population change? Well, if you look at birth rate statistics in the United States, we're not making any more babies because we're supposedly so educated, So when educated people get educated, they focus on their careers and don't have babies. So where are these babies coming from? They're coming from across the border. You're getting all of these illegal immigrants coming in here. You can't just take in people and think that it's not going to affect your population. And so all you people who you support illegal immigration, but then you complain about traffic, you created your own traffic. You support illegal immigration, but you're out of a job because some illegal immigrant took your job. You created your own problem. So the Democrats are really starting to see, the voting level Democrats are really starting to see how these liberal, and by liberal, I'm not talking neoclassic liberal, or classic liberal, I should say. I'm talking about liberal meaning they're so open and willing to just give away and share and do all this stuff. These philosophies are really coming to hurt people. Now, I picked on the leftists. And let me pick on the establishment globalist Republicans now and conservatives. John McCain recently was discovered with a malignant brain tumor. And it's the same brain tumor that type that Ted Kennedy suffered from. And as you know, as soon as they discovered Ted Kennedy's, he was gone in a matter of a few days, a month, I think. It was very fast. As soon as they discovered it, he died. McCain thinks he's going to survive this, and you know, from a human perspective, I feel sorry for him. But from a political perspective and a spiritual one, I believe that he has his due coming to him, because he puts on this persona of a conservative Republican, but he's really a neoconservative, and the neoconservatives we all know are Nazis. And he puts on this image and persona of being a veteran, but then he's going out into Iraq, and you got images of him meeting with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. And then you all of a sudden hear Obama is funding the Free Syrian Army back when he was president. And those are all known members of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. So you're seeing how the globalists all stick together. It doesn't matter whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. And a lot of the media is globalist. And all these people who are trying to figure out, like Mark Zuckerberg, who just thinks that the users on Facebook are stupid. He's trying to figure out why people voted for Trump and how they lost and all this stuff. Well, the reality of it is you guys are just not loyal to the country. You're not loyal to any of your followers. You're very selfish. And you're very demonic in many ways. And when we try to tell you guys that, you ask the question, we give you the answer, and you're so arrogant, which is also a sign of demonic type activity on the spiritual level. You're so arrogant, you won't even accept the answer that you asked for. So you're getting it. Karma comes back. It's a bitch. They say karma's a bitch. You believe in karma? I'm Catholic. I don't believe in karma, but you're getting what you deserve. I believe you get what you deserve when you behave in certain ways. I mean, if you put your hand on a stove and you get burned, and then you wonder why, and someone tells you because it's hot and you shouldn't do that, and you don't want to accept the answer, you get what you deserve, basically. So people, those leftists are so arrogant, and I know so many of the arrogant leftists that really I've started whittling down my friendships, because we're at a point in time where I believe people are intelligent enough, they're educated enough. The leftists like to claim they're educated and intelligent. Well, if you're intelligent, you can see what's going on and pretty much figure out what's happening. So, John McCain, I'm sorry you have brain cancer. I don't wish that on my worst enemy, but you have it for a reason, I think, because your body is a reflection of the way you think and the way you behave. If you're fat, you're feeding yourself too much. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you're not feeding yourself too much, you're feeding yourself the wrong stuff that contains too much. So that's a simple thing that many people are starting to figure out today as well. And so people are starting to eat healthier. But it's so politically incorrect to say someone is fat. Well, what do you call them? Someone is externally challenged? When people start telling themselves the truth, a lot of things can be solved. So, now, the other thing I've been noticing is John McCain likes to call himself a veteran. Well, the veterans don't like that because, number one, when you're sick, where are you going to get your health care? Are you at the VA? The VA that is government run, that for the past 8 years that President Obama supposedly wanting to improve Obamacare has done nothing to improve. In fact, there have been a major number of scandals at the VA, stealing money and mistreatment of the veterans and things like that. And Obama can leave office going, "Oh, I have no scandals. I'm the first administration to have no scandals." Well, he can lie about that, but the reality is, if you're intelligent, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, if you're intelligent and you look, you can see there's scandals galore when President Obama was president. So the VA is a mess. I've seen videos where there are veterans waiting in the waiting room and there are cockroaches on the floor and they're stepping on them while they're sitting there waiting for service. And then the person taking the video was in the other room and then they see another cockroach on the wall climbing. Any other hospital that had cockroaches, any restaurant, any business having to do with health, a capitalistic business having to do with health and services would have been shut down having any cockroaches. But yet the government runs the VA, and what do? They allow it to stay open. It's disgusting. So the veterans are asking former veteran John McCain, if he wants to claim he is one, to be treated the same way as all the other veterans, and I'm all for that. You know, if you are going to claim you're a veteran, go take the same services, accept the same services as all the veterans. I don't care if you're a politician. You may be the most wealthy, prominent politician, and that's a whole different matter. Being wealthy and being a politician is another corruption sign. You cannot be wealthy in public service unless you're stealing. And so John McCain needs to go to the VA to get his brain tumor treatment, and he will not survive there for sure. Many of our veterans don't. And so that's an issue that we all need to address. And that goes also to the establishment Republicans like Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan. All these establishment guys that are supposed to be the leaders, and why they cannot repeal Obamacare, because they don't want to repeal Obamacare. They want to keep Obamacare because it helps to bring in the tax theft revenue for the government that keeps their jobs in place and allows them to have the posh health care that they have as politicians. Allows them to live in the multi-million-dollar mansions like Maxine Waters, who's running for re-election as a congresswoman in California. She doesn't even live in her district, but she lives in a multi-million-dollar mansion. How can you live in a multi-million-dollar mansion as a politician? So really, not just the Democrats. I mean, this is also a wake-up call to us Republicans that in order to see what's going on, you really need to look clearly. So Obamacare is a failure of Obama. It has his name on it. The Democrats are trying to rebrand it on their liberal media and leftist media to make it look like Trump's at fault for why Obamacare is failing. No. Obama said that his plans were perfect. They shouldn't be failing. You can keep your doctor. You can keep your plan. All these lies. You're seeing that's not happening. And you're seeing that the reason why Obamacare doesn't work is you cannot force people to buy what they don't want to buy. Every choice we make in purchasing things is economic. And economics, really, all it boils down to is psychology and management of your funds. What do you decide that your money is going to do best in? And so when you get offered a healthcare plan, if you're sick, you have the choice. Do you want to pay for the hospital, or do you want to ride it out and see if you get better? That's an economic, psychological choice. You don't have to spend your money if you don't want to. But with Obamacare, you are forced to. You're forced to have a plan, or you get penalized $2,000. You tell me, is that theft? When you're forced to do some spending that you don't want to do, that's theft. A burglar or a robber will come up to you, point a gun at you, and say, "Give me your money." In other words, spend your money on me. And you have no choice. Well, you could try to run away. Boom, boom, you get shot. You lose your life. Well, you spend your life there. But you have no choice in that matter. You have very few choices. That is corruption. That is authoritarianism. That is totalitarianism. That is dictatorship when the government starts demanding how you are going to spend your money. Now we're starting lead into the economic topic that I wanted to discuss, of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because there are two ways that the government steals from you. There are more, but I mean, there are two economic ways that they steal from you primarily. And that is through inflation, meaning if you're holding cash, they completely devalue your currency. When you least expect it, they'll do it on a Friday when the banks close. The government will decide, oh, you know what, we're going to just destroy the value of the currency. And we'll revalue the US dollar. Hypothetically, that's what they may do. Will revalue the US dollar to some former monetary asset like gold. And say this, right now gold is at like $1,200 something an ounce. They may revalue it to like $10,000 an ounce. So it means before it was $1,200, $1,200 to exchange for an ounce of gold. And after the devaluation, it will now cost you $10,000 to exchange for an ounce of gold. So that's one form of weight. I'm not saying that they're going to do that exactly, but history has shown that governments do that. You have peso crisis, you have ruble crisis, you have rupee crisis, you have Asian tiger currency crises. You've had currency crises throughout the world, because you have to really understand what money is and what currency is. Currency is like a receipt for money, and they can print, at this point, a currency is like a derivative. You can print more derivatives than actually there is money to support it. So that's what we've gotten to the point of. And when we say print, we live in the new technology age. I say print because I'm of the generation where I'm coming from the old generation that used to use paper and physical things, and I'm transferring into the new generation with the millennials that don't know those physical things. They can't afford those physical things anyway. So they're in this cyber world where it's a digital, more like a concept world than a reality world. And we're soon to go to a world where they're going to try to connect the physical and the cyber world. So cyber world is kind of similar to me as the spiritual world, and I have my own theories about why certain technologies are being developed to eventually bring the devil into our reality. But a lot of people who don't believe in religion will not even get into that. And I haven't had that discussion with many Catholic priests, and I don't know that many Catholic priests today are even believe in the devil the way our church is going. But I do. I've seen things. God has shown me things to show me that my faith in the Catholic Church and in what Jesus taught us is true. That Jesus is not a liar. He's very true to his word. So I know that there's the devil out there, and he's actually functioning in people right now. But anyway, Obamacare was a way to steal money. Inflation is a way to steal money. And then another way to steal money is if you, instead of holding cash, you decide to stick your cash into some kind of traditionally known as an asset, some kind of asset that holds the cash. So if you invest in the stock market, you put your money in the stock market. If you invest in commodities, you put your money in commodities. So what they'll do is they'll destroy those asset values. They'll have a crash in the stock market or a crash in the commodities market or across the board, and you can have your money taken that way. Now, what I think is going to happen is exactly what happened in 2007. And I've said this, we're repeating history. Well, history doesn't necessarily repeat, it rhymes, as Mark Twain says. We're seeing the Fed was raising interest rates. They did that same thing back in those days. They raised the interest rates. And I always say, the Fed raises interest rates until something breaks. Well, we're starting to hear Janet Yellen talking about, well, we might be raising interest rates too fast, so we're going to kind of control our raising. She didn't say she's going to stop raising interest rates, but she said you're going to kind of reconsider whether they are going to raise interest rates. It's confusing language that they're using so that you don't know what they're going to do for sure. And so, but it makes it seem like they're going to stop raising interest rates, which is inflationary. Okay? It's lowering, it's keeping the interest rates at a certain price, which are the price of borrowing money, so that people can borrow more money, more cash, and that's inflationary because it's a way of printing money. Because credit or borrowing money is money that you didn't create yourself from working. Typically, the way you create money or create wealth is you go get a job, you do some form of work and that creates a physical product which you sell in the marketplace, and someone pays you for it. You've generated wealth. And credit is the opposite. You haven't done any work, but you're trying to get that money anyway through a loan, which you go and you can spend in the marketplace, but you didn't earn that money. So you get misallocation of wealth when that kind of thing occurs, because it's different. When you make money, you work hard for it, you're not as willing to spend it. And when you do spend it, you spend it on things that are more rational, on things you need. When you didn't work for it and you get that money kind of came easy, and it feels like a freebie when you go to buy things, and you kind of feel wealthy, and you'll want to go spend it on more frivolous things. So credit causes distortions in our economy, and so you start to see bubbles form where people buy really unnecessary things in our economy, and some of the necessary things suffer because of it. So you will see like gold and silver are suffering because those are traditionally money, and people don't want to hold a bar of gold or silver. They don't like holding those things. I'm seeing the world is actually getting rid of a lot of their junk. Everywhere I go, people are having sales. They're having yard sales, or they're putting things out in the neighborhood and putting signs, free, take it. I work great. Or, I saw a TV out in my neighborhood, a projection TV. It's an old TV, but it said it worked great. I mean, I probably would have taken it if I had a use for it, but I don't really have a use for a projection TV. I've seen furniture put out. I'm seeing a lot of my family and friends putting on yard sales. So people are not buying things anymore. That's deflationary in the economy. Other thing is technology is making things cheaper and easier to use. Technology makes it so that we don't have to buy books anymore if you don't want to. So you can eliminate bookstores. You can buy the audio or the digital version that you can read on your phone. So you don't need a bookshelf in your house anymore, because why have all these books with a bookshelf when you can have thousands of books on your phone? The world is just being deflationed by many of the things that are going on in the economy today. And there's so much credit and there are no jobs. That's deflationary. When the credit is inflationary, but when you have so much credit out there and people can't afford to pay for it, you're going to see deflation. So what the Fed is doing right now, by raising interest rates, they're making it so people can't pay their credit anymore. So they're creating a deflationary environment. And the way they're going to steal your money is if you're in any asset where it's credit related or you need to put your money into it, that money is going to be stolen when that crashes, because it's deflationary. So I expect a big stock market crash soon. And then I expect the Federal Reserve to do what they did again in 2008, 2007, late 2007, 2008, when the markets were crashing then, 2008, when the markets were crashing then, to lower interest rates, because they want to stimulate again the credit boom so that people will borrow again and spend money again and print money. So I expect that to happen again as the markets are crashing. And so they're going to try to slow that crashing rate by printing the money. And then when everybody gets into a cash form, they're going to, because everyone's scared of the sell-off and they slow the crash, they're going to do inflationary policy where they do quantitative easing, just like they did at the end of the crash in 2008 also. They started printing money and buying assets again to make the assets go up in price again. And as we're seeing in like Venezuela has collapsed. Their economy has collapsed, but you're seeing hyperinflation. They have that same thing. You can have the people starving to death and the economy's not functioning, where you have no stores open, they have no businesses, they have no way to get food or water, but yet your stock market's hitting new highs because your government and central banks are purchasing up the stock market for the rich people that knew what was going on all along. So I just posted a video on Facebook about how people spend their money on things to make themselves look rich. And they're not rich, they're poor. They don't have enough money to pay for a $500 bill or $1,000 expense that they got. So because they're using their money to keep up with the Joneses. This is a video I've done before where communist and socialist mentality makes you keep up with the Joneses to make you try to look wealthy like everybody else tries to look wealthy. And they're all spending their money into bankruptcy. And they're all broke. They don't have enough money to pay their bills. I invest, and that's what the video said to do. Instead of spending your money on things that you can't afford, invest your money. That's the first philosophy of money. It's to make your money work for you so that you don't have to work for you. Initially, you do have to work for you because you have no money. But once you start making money, make your money work for you so that you are, in effect, if you, instead of looking at each dollar as something that you can use to buy something else you want, look at each dollar as a soldier for you. So when I have $1, I have a new soldier under me, and I'm the general. And I tell that soldier to go work for me. I have $2, 2 soldiers, $3. Up to 1,000 soldiers, I have 1,000 soldiers. I got an army. So if you have $1,000 and you're trying to figure out what to do with it, like I said, be careful. They're going to crash certain markets first to steal your money there, and then they're going to inflate the currency because you're going to try to sell out of the crashing markets and go into currency. They're going to inflate the currency to steal your money there. Your money are your soldiers. And if you know what the enemy is doing to your soldiers, you'll do things to protect your soldiers as a general, and you will deploy your soldiers in a way that they continue to work for you no matter what's going on. And so money management is really a management of yourself and your self-control and your delaying of self-gratification. That video displays it perfectly. What I may do is I may include in a link in the description below on my YouTube video of the video I'm talking about. On Facebook, you know exactly where it is. You can go down. Instagram, this is live, so sorry, you'll have to go to my Facebook. I'm Cristo Bear Kalaikai, also known as The Magnificent at facebook.com. And you can follow me on Steemit at Cryptopher, CRYPTOPHER at Steemit.com. So I will post this video, links to that other video so that you can watch it, because I think that's the most important thing. People need to get their mentalities right. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you're following the herd. And when you're in a mob, in a stampede, you're going to get trampled eventually if you fall. You don't want to run with the herd. And you don't want to be in front of the herd so they can run over you. You want to be in a place where you have good perspective, high up above everything, looking at everything and seeing where everybody else is running, and trying to be an individual and stand away from them. So trying to tell people to get a little bit of an idea of how to protect themselves from what's coming. But at the same time, I can't give you specifics on how to invest and what to invest in, because each person has their own fears, risk tolerance, and things like that that affect that. Even if I tell you how to do it, you may do it wrong. Your timing may be off. You might lose a lot of money, and then you'll blame me. And in the end, but what I'm saying in the end is they're going to try to take your money anyway, no matter what. You may lose all your money anyway. So you need to start educating yourself. It's a little late in the game to start educating yourself, but better late than never to educate yourself. I've been doing this for years. I've been trying to prepare for years, and it's been 20 plus years that I've been trying to prepare, and I still feel unprepared for what's coming. So I'm just trying to get some of you guys on the same page and get a good view of what's happening. And so I tell people, get into farming. Learn how to grow things. It gives you patience because you can't get it right away. That'll help you with your instant gratification feelings inside, where you want it now. And then you resort to, I don't have the money now, so I'm going to go get credit to buy it now. Stop that. Get off credit right now. Everybody else is on credit. It's falling apart. If you have bills, pay them off. That's a guaranteed return of about 21 to 29% on your credit card bill that you can't get in any other investment. Pay off your bills unless you need that cash. If you don't have a cash reserve, then I'm not going to recommend you on that, because you always need some form of cash there. So if there's an economic problem and you lose your job or whatever, you need to be able to go buy things. It's okay to have the bank chase you and say, hey, give me your money. But if you got the cash in your pocket, they have to, number one, prove you got it. If it's in your bank account, they know you got it and they can take it if they need to. There was a time when there were debtor prisons. This is why I don't like debt either, because when it becomes time where you can't pay your bills and everybody's on debt and nobody can pay their bills, the banks are going to petition to the government to make it illegal to not pay your bills, which is what I believe is going to happen. So all forms of freedom, all governments and free forms of governing systems eventually devolve into authoritarian dictatorships or communisms like that, because people don't know how to manage their wealth, and then they have freedom and they figure out that that freedom can be used to vote themselves money. So then they vote themselves money, they rob the coffers of the government, they misspend that money, and then they're bankrupt, and then they don't have the ability to pay their bills, and little by little everything becomes dictatorial, and you start to get people who are strong who come in and solve the economic problems of all the weak people that voted for all the things that caused the economic problems. So we're kind of going through a dangerous stage like right now, what I say, damned if you do, damned if you don't, where our country can become free again because we're starting to realize a lot of the problems. And if we educate ourselves to the problems and change who we are and stop blaming other people, pointing the finger like political correctness likes to do, instead of, you know, getting mad when someone tells you you're fat, or someone tells you your lifestyle is dangerous and getting offended, you should take time to look inside and go, why are they telling me that? Is that true? Try to figure it out. And that's where religion comes in. God taught us a way of living that is clean, it is effective, it is moral, it doesn't hurt other people, and if everybody lives that way, we'll all have potential for abundant wealth at some point. But we've rather denied God and denied that He exists and that the Bible is worth anything. There are too many inconsistencies in the Bible, as I say. That's what I hear from people who don't even read the Bible. If you read the Bible, you'll see that it's consistent throughout. Old Testament to New Testament. Two different religions. Old Testament was the Jews, New Testament's Christianity, and there's consistency throughout. The eye for eye principle, you have to think about also the times in which they live. The Jews at that time didn't have medical, they didn't have policing, so there's a way that they were supposed to live by the law in order to do things. As people became more and more free and more educated, some of those things change and pass away. So especially when you have more health care. And we have great health care in this country, we just have to figure out how to do it well. And I think by privatizing health care, people will have better health care, because the people who run businesses do so out of selfishness and profit. They want profit. So in order to get profit and have a profitable business, you have to do good business and you have to serve your customers well. If you rob your customers, they won't come back. And so privatization is perfect for those kinds of problems. When you make government run things like healthcare, like I said with the VA, government has no incentive to make sure everyone's served properly. They just want to satisfy the voters so that the voters will vote for them again. And the way they satisfy the voters, they know the voters won't follow up on them. So that's on the voter, if you're not following up on the people you vote for. So they make sure that the voter says to you, if you're running for president, I want good health care. So you give them Obamacare. You give them a plan that says care in it. Care for all. Affordable care. The words say it. And so the people look at the surface and they go, oh, that's great. I want that. But they don't go look down deep into what it really is and how it's not really good care. And so government doesn't have any accountability in that form because they know people are lazy. And they know that eventually they'll just blame the opponent, which is what's going on right now. They're blaming Trump. Trump's trying to do what he can, but he's in a state of complete disarray there. You got Democrats stopping everything he tries to do. You got conservative establishment and neoconservative establishment Republicans that are trying to stop what Trump is trying to do. And so Trump can do very little at this point. Tax cuts ain't going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now, ain't going to happen. Trump wants to do it. It's the best for us. It puts money in our pockets to stimulate the economy. They won't let that happen because they want it in their pockets. That's why that way Maxine Waters can live in her multi-million-dollar mansion. John McCain can get his multi-million-dollar health care and not be like the rest of us who can't afford that kind of health care. They want to be able to rob you. So you as a voter need to be more responsible and stop blaming other people for what goes on in your life and start taking more control over yourself. This is what Jesus said. Do unto others as you want others to do unto you. So it means, how can I take control of myself so that I can do unto others, that can be a good level of thing that I would want done unto me. And if you can't do it yourself, you can't expect other people to do it. If you can't change yourself, you can't change the world, as I've always said. So we need to start getting control over ourselves. Wealth management is really self-control or self-management. And so what's coming, like I said, the banks are going to try to steal money from you through the economy. Prepare for that. There's going to be a deflationary crash coming. We're seeing it everywhere. Stores going bankrupt. People buying less. People selling their stuff more. These are all deflationary things. And then to get out of it, they're going to print money like crazy. So it's a timing issue. If you go all to cash and you stay in cash, you may be safe when the crash comes because the dollar is going to go up in value. But if you stay in the dollars and you don't lock in your profit, when they start inflating the currency, the dollar value is going to go to zero. And this is the reason why we have cryptocurrencies. Because when it goes to zero, people are going to need some form of transaction. You look at Venezuela, they have no currency. They have no gold and silver. They gave it all away. The government took it all, or is not producing it properly because the government owns all the businesses there. Like I said, privatization is the best. So they always have shortage. The people have no form of currency, and they're starving. The only way they can get saving is from the government. The government will give them like rice rations. But then they have to go fight the government because the government's what made them in the bad position that they're in, and they voted for that government. So in the end, it all comes down to the voters. And right now we're starting to see voters are waking up. They're seeing, here in America at least, that what they voted for is screwing them. And I hope that Europeans see it. It's a little late for Europe because you allowed so many Muslim refugees in there that now Europe is going to become Muslim. Poland knows better and is not allowing Muslims in there, and many other of the Eastern European bloc doesn't want that because they lived through communism. They know what it's like to have a crappy lifestyle. But the Western Europe is a mess. So Western civilization there is a mess. And we're going to see the end of Western civilization, unfortunately. The only ones able to preserve it are United States, unless it's too late. We're seeing a lot of Muslim problems here. Poland in the and the Eastern Bloc of the European Union, which is European Union is done. It's going to fall apart. You can't have disunity like that and have it stay together. The United States may fall apart because right now we're seeing so much disunity between Republicans and Democrats. So prepare. You may have to watch this video over and over again because I've covered a lot in it. I tried to keep it simple. I've covered a lot in it, but things are not as they appear all the time. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And the only way to know what's going on is if you study history. So also be careful those people that talk about people's character and you don't get the other side of the story. Don't just side with them. I'm having a problem right now with somebody who's really bad-mouthing me, and there are people siding with them, and they didn't even bother to talk to me. And all you guys are on my, excuse my French, shit list, because you didn't come to see my side of the story. So now I know that how your character is. You immediately side with what you believe is correct without getting all the information. So I'm going to end it with that, because I want to end it on that note, to let you guys know that I'm watching, and that if you do that stuff to me, it's going to come back to bite you because you're doing that to yourself. Because the truth is going to come out, and it's not going to be nice when it comes out. So you better be careful what you do to other people. I don't appreciate that. I'm a person of loyalty. I don't like to talk against people without knowing, and you guys are doing that to me, and I absolutely I don't appreciate that at all. So you know who you are. I know who you are. If you think I don't, you'll find out, because I'll post those things that you said. I watch. You can block me all you want. I know your stuff. I have eyes in other ways. Keep my name out of your mouth. And I'll end it at that. Sorry to end it on a sour note, but that's just a message to everybody. Keep your eyes on your business. Keep your eyes on your own business. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses and lose sight of who you are and put yourself in trouble. All right. Sorry to end on that note. On a side note, God love you, good people. God, love my enemies. I'm praying for you. But I'm not going to let you be by me anymore now that I see how you are. Hopefully God will change your life for the better, because what you've done to me is just ugly. And I pray that everybody else has a really good week. And I pray that God bless you and protect you and keep you and defend you from what may come, and defend you from what may not come also. Hopefully you never see it, and God doesn't put us through the test. But I think we're going there. So just prepare regardless. All right. God love you. And if I don't post anything else during the week, I'll see you next week.